Hey guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ and welcome to my review of episode 2 of What If. This one is titled, What If T'Challa Became Star-Lord? As always, I will start non-spoilers, then go into spoilers, so don't worry if you haven't seen it. I will let you know when to click away. Let's hop into this. Okay, first of all, I have to address Chadwick Boseman, who recorded these lines before his unfortunate passing. It's nice to hear his voice. It's nice to get him as T'Challa one more time. He does good in this episode. I want to say he's in 3 more also. They said he's not just in the 1 episode. So that's cool. We'll get to hear more. And the episode is dedicated to him. At the end, there's a little tribute, a little dedication. And addressing the character of T'Challa Star-Lord, it is a much different Star-Lord than Peter Quill. Much different, because it's not Peter, it's T'Challa. And T'Challa had certain character traits that Peter didn't. And, T'Challa had those before he was, abducted. So, as Star-Lord, he's a much different person. He's honestly a much better person than Peter Quill, which is nice. They're not the same. They're 2 completely different people. Michael Rooker is back as Yondu in this episode, and it's just nice to have more Yondu. Yondu's a great character, and I will take more of them. And then there are a bunch of other returning characters I don't really want to get into because of spoilers. I'll talk about some of them more in the spoilers section. Some of the returns were really cool, and there were a couple of them that I wasn't a fan of and just had me scratching my head. One in particular that I don't know why they chose to go that route. It just kind of made me confused. Now for fan service, holy crap, there's a lot of fan service in this episode. I mean, this whole show is kind of supposed to be fan service, the show in a way. But there's a scene that's literally just the fan service vault. And they open it up. And it's like, oh my god, look at all this, look at all this cool fan service that we're gonna give you. But it worked. It worked within the context of the story. And speaking of the story, the first episode was just Captain America the First Avenger with Peggy Carter instead of Steve Rogers, and it was put on 3 times the speed. This episode is not like that. It starts out very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. The first scene is a lot like the first scene of Guardians, but then it segues into its own story. It uses characters, locations, and some plot lines from Guardians of the Galaxy, but it doesn't recreate the movie with T'Challa instead of Peter Quill. It tells its own narrative, which I think works out better than just rehashing an already existing movie, but I liked the first episode more. There's just some things they did with this episode that I was not a big fan of. Some stuff I'll discuss more in spoilers. That's not to say I didn't like it. I still had a lot of fun with it. But I didn't like it as much as I liked What If Captain Carter was the first Avenger. Okay, with all that said, that's really all I have for non-spoiler thoughts. Just my quick little thoughts on this episode. I'm going to get into some spoiler stuff now. If you have not watched the episode, click away, watch the episode, then come back and watch this part. If you have seen the episode or you just don't care about spoilers, welcome. Alright, first off, it was a mistake. Kraglin and Taserface went to get T'Challa, but they were supposed to get Peter. They grabbed T'Challa. Yondu got mad at him, then kept T'Challa. Okay? But one question I have, why is he called Star-Lord? Because Peter went by Star-Lord because his mom called him Star-Lord. T'Challa's dad just called him T'Challa. So I don't know why they named him Star-Lord. Maybe just because that's just the hero's name that Peter is. And so they're like, well, just brand recognizability, if that's even a word. But it was weird. It's like a weird thing I'm hung up on, is why did T'Challa go by Star-Lord despite not having any connection to that name. I do like the twist that he's known, because T'Challa actually chose to be more of a hero and help people instead of being a pirate. But with that said, let's talk about Thanos, he's certainly in the episode, but he's a good guy now, like a super good guy, because T'Challa made a compelling enough argument to convince Thanos to not try to kill half the universe, which does not sit right with me. Thanos is supposed to be mad. He's the Mad Titan. He is so convinced that killing half the universe is the only way to save everyone, and nothing can talk him down from that. They do still kind of keep the thing that he still kind of defends killing half the people, and everyone tells him it's genocide, but he doesn't do it, and he fights alongside T'Challa. He fights with the Ravengers. He fights against the Black Order, who last time I checked are his kids, and they never even acknowledge each other. I mean, unless in this universe they're not, but I don't know why they wouldn't be. Like, if Nebula was, why wouldn't the Black Order be children of Thanos? If they were the most loyal to him. They're the ones who stayed with him till the end. I don't know, just what they did with Thanos in the episode. I get it, the writers thought it would be fun to be like, hey, what if Thanos was a good guy? But I feel like Thanos being a good guy is something that warrants its own episode, not being used for comic relief inside this episode. And also, the MacGuffin that was like a little plant about yay tall that they said, like, a couple seeds of it can repopulate a planet. Like, they hit Cull Obsidian with 3 of them, and then all of nowhere was just filled with plants. So basically, the MacGuffin of this episode is just to prove that Thanos could have in fact just doubled the resources. And it's like, if T'Challa can talk him down, but no one else can, and there is a thing that lets him double the resources, doesn't it just kind of make the OG, like the Infinity War team, those Avengers, the original Avengers, doesn't it just make them seem stupid? And I don't think I'm overthinking it. I think these are things that should have been taken into account in the writer's room. I don't think this is me overthinking. I don't think this is me nitpicking. I think these are very valid criticisms that should have been addressed by the writers. But as for Nebula, Nebula is looking mighty fine in this episode, I might add. And she has hair, because Thanos is a good guy, so he, didn't do as many experiments on her. She has the eye, that's it. And I think the rest of her is all natural. So she has hair, because Thanos never made her into a full-on cyborg, which is cool. I liked the parts with the Wakandan spaceship. I think that was really cool. I liked the ending on Wakanda. You know what else I liked is the quick Howard the Duck cameo. I just like seeing Howard the Duck. And how he doesn't do anything. Like, they let him out and then he gets a drink and then the doors close, so T'Challa has to abandon him. Like, what happened to Howard the Duck? Can we get a Howard the Duck sequel episode, please? I will add action better in this episode. The final fight between the Collector and T'Challa, I think, was cooler than the action that we had in the first episode. But yeah, overall, I just feel like the episode was a little absurd. I still had fun with it, don't get me wrong. I still had lots of fun with this episode, but there's so much going on. There's things in this crammed into this episode that should have been their own storyline. Like I said, Thanos as a good guy. That's so cool. That should have been its own episode. But instead they have to tack into this, and it just feels weird. The whole galaxy is swooning over Star-Lord. Korath says he's there to get the thing for Ronan, then doesn't, and he just joins the Ravagers. Where was Ronan? Shouldn't Ronan have been like, hey, you're betraying me, I'm gonna come kick your ass? Okay. Guess he wasn't. I guess he was just cool with it. He was cool with Korath letting the Power Stone get away, and alright, wasn't Korath like the ultimate bad? Like, there was no redemption in him. He was loyal to Ronan until the end. Till T'Challa Star-Lord showed up and he's like, oh yeah, let me cross Ronan and help you out here. The Collector is just this huge shredded dude, which I will admit, was kind of cool to see him shredded, but he's also got all this, like, cool technology. Like, it would have been cool if it was just the normal Collector using all this cool stuff he's collected to beat T'Challa. I think that would have been cooler than him being just this absolute behemoth of a man. I don't know. It was kind of weird. Yeah, I think the writers went a bit too far with things. I think there's 3 episodes of stuff crammed into this one episode. And I feel like putting that all into half an hour did not work as well as they thought it would. I think there were too many cooks in the kitchen. I think the writer's room came together and they each had a different script. And they're like, hey, why don't we toss them together? But there you go. Those are my thoughts on What If T'Challa Became Star-Lord. Still a fun episode. It was a fine episode. But there's a lot of issues with it that I can't ignore. And I think the first episode was better. So guys, what were your thoughts on episode 2 of What If? Let me know down in the comments below. Also leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.